Welcome to part 2, my everyone. Things got a little hectic where I am, but like Lil Wayne said, sorry for the wait, and let's get into it. We return to our boy. After days of battling numerous nobles, it is about time that Leon can finally take a breather after defeating Elmont. The fatigue has evidently caught up with him as he nurses his wounds while leaving the battlegrounds. Something else had said has fixed itself in the boy's mind, and he asks the spirit to explain further what he meant by Axel. Elcid reveals that a normal human being's body is slower than their subconscious, and that in turn affects their reflexes. However, trained swordmasters are able to move at the speed of light due to their ability to harness aura. Without it, their bodies would suffer fatal injuries that may even lead to death. What is surprising is that during one of Elmont's attacks, Leon was able to use that ability known as Axel and dodge his opponent's sword. Having never applied that technique before and without the use of aura, this seems to be nothing short of a miracle. However, our hero's happiness is short-lived as his thighs suddenly begin to cramp up and he falls to the ground in pain. Since he had only used Axel without aura on his legs, most of the soreness is now being felt in that region. Elcid warns him that if he does so again, the consequences may prove to be fatal. Something about defeating an entire gang of egoistic nobles really puts you in the limelight. The next day, Leon entered school and attracted way more attention than he had received over the course of his entire life. Our boy finally experienced what it must feel like to be John Cena in a public space. My bad. Nobody can see him. If you know, you know. He could feel the gaze of every student in the hallway as well as portions of their whispered gossip. Some kids are discussing how Leon has drunk a special elixir that granted him superhuman abilities, while others wonder if he has learned techniques from an ancient swordmaster. Evidently, these seem to be rumors spread by none other than the defeated nobles from their hospital beds as excuses for why they had their butts handed to them on the battlefield. Despite all the commotion, our protagonist is not fazed in the slightest as he crosses the hallway on his way to class. However, his macho walk is interrupted by none other than his longtime crush, Chloe. He suddenly forgets all of his bravado and seems to be speechless since they have not talked for a long time. This is not the introverted, shy boy of the past, however, as he then accompanies Chloe to the outside grounds of the school where he jokes about how she ditched her class just to meet him. Chloe mentions how Leon has gone through such a drastic change over the last few days. A couple months back, he would not have had the courage to talk to the girl at such close proximity, much less tease her about anything. That, coupled with how he straight up challenged the nobles to a fight, makes it seem that he has become an entirely different person. Leon recalls how he suffered greatly from an inferiority complex by constantly comparing himself to Leon. During this conversation, Leon is finally able to realize his true feelings towards Leon and Chloe. A feeling of jealousy, like he's not as strong as the two of them and that he would always be on the outskirts of their group. This led to disappointment of the world around him as he always worked hard, but never received the fruit for his tireless efforts. That is until he met Elcid. These realizations began to bring our boy to tears with their intensity. Upon seeing this, it flusters Chloe, and she attempts to comfort him. While Leon continues to think that without meeting Elcid, he would still be stuck in an endless pit of self-loathing with no way out. He really has changed the way he sees himself and his relationships with the people close to him. Elcid is taken aback looking at Leon while he is coming to realize these things and notices the subtle growth of him as a person. As this is happening, Leon continues to ponder that if heroes save others, then Elcid saved him, and he vows to become worthy and capable of wielding this hero's power and surpass all the odds against him. Although Elcid cannot hear our boy's thoughts, but he can tell by growth that he sees in front of him that he is ready for the next level. Our protagonist gets a chill, feeling the energy Elcid exudes due to this. Our boy is getting PTSD flashbacks, for real, but it's good to see Leon growing from all of this despite everything he has gone through. Despite many hours having passed since their meeting, Leon cannot help but replay his conversation with Chloe as he lay on his bed that night. Just as she had been leaving, she actually complimented this new, confident side of him and even compared it to Leon. She comments that the subtle difference that she sees between the two now is that one is looking upwards while the other looks forward. Considering that he had been trying to rival him for most of his life, this was nothing short of the ultimate praise. What seems to frustrate him, though, are Chloe's final words. She requests him to befriend Leon since nobody else in their class has the same mindset, and they prefer to keep their distance from him. Although he has no such intention, Leon assures the girl that he will try to do so. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Back at his mansion, the other Leon is also thinking of his opponent and the upcoming match the next day. Talk about romance. Is anyone else feeling an enemies to lovers vibe here, or is it just me? The next morning, Leon is once again busy training to his absolute limit. Such is the intensity of his sparring that his wooden sword breaks in two, which greatly frustrates him. Elsid, who is close by, assures him that this new technique is much more extreme than his usual moves, which is why a normal training sword is unable to handle it. As he takes a breather, Leon reminds himself that this technique would be his trump card, so he needs to practice it to perfection. He realizes that he will only have one chance to use this trump card, or he may just get countered just like in their previous matches. If he hopes to stand a chance against a highly experienced swordsman like Leon, he will need to bring his absolute A game. As a reminder for what he is up against, Elsid brings up Leon's stats, which are at a completely different level in comparison to the stats of the nobles our protagonist had recently faced. Not only is strength and agility attributes crazy good, he is also an aura user that can manifest the energy out of his body. As if all that is not enough, he can also infuse his sword with aura, which may prove to be a deadly combo. Elsid reveals that Leon is already stronger than most instructors despite only being 17, and he will definitely give Leon a battle of a lifetime. If it was anyone else who saw those stats, they would probably have peed their pants. However, our protagonist seems as determined as while looking over both of their stats, he realizes that the only advantage he has over Leon is in stamina. So, he plans to use that to his advantage in their upcoming match. Elsid notices his vigor and tells Leon that he will give him all the advice he will need to come out victorious in this bout with a confident smile. Leon suddenly passes a question to Elsid. What do you plan to do if I lose to Leon? Elsid, taken a bit aback by this, stating that he will not answer that question now. When Leon follows up asking why not, Elsid elaborates that it's the same as he told him before, that with taking up the holy sword, the trials you get will be harsher than the opportunities you have. He further states that this fight is the turning point of his life, and as such he will explain everything to him if he overcomes this trial. While focusing on our protagonist, he empathizes that it will all make sense after he wins. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, Leon is silently observing the pouring rain from his window while a member of his royal family, Sir Gilbert, is going through a summary of Leon's battles. He is clearly impressed with the boy and appreciates how he was able to defeat Elmont without the use of aura. Without turning around, Leon reveals that Leon has indicated that he is ready for their battle. He then asks Sir Gilbert for an important favor before the match. In his head, he states with determination that he will defeat Leon and make him his knight. The day of the duel finally arrives, and it appears that the heavens themselves can barely watch as it is pouring cats and dogs. Helmut is waiting for Leon outside the battle room where Leon is already preparing himself. Unlike his previous battles with the nobles, there is no large crowd present, and it is as quiet as a graveyard. Helmut reveals that there is only a single observer, and Elsid wonders if it could be Chloe since Leon is aware that his opponent is also interested in the girl and defeating him in front of her would definitely work in his favor. The very possibility that Chloe might be observing them seems to fire up our protagonist, and he appears to be as motivated as ever. Young love. The battle between Armake and Leon is not only legendary on account of their similar names. A whole lot is riding on the result of this fight. especially if you consider that Leon will become Lion's vassal if he suffers a defeat. Add in the fact that both the guys also have a crush on the gorgeous Chloe who might be observing the duel, and you can imagine how high the stakes currently are. The Chloe news seems to have pissed off Leon as he realizes that this is a political move by his opponent of showing his nobility. By defeating Leon, Lion would proudly present him as his vassal and draw a line between who is a noble and who is a mere commoner. By doing this, he hopes to win the heart of the girl who would then disregard our poor, defeated protagonist. If it were just that our boy wouldn't have a problem with this. However, he realizes that this way of doing things doesn't take into account how he or Chloe would feel about it. He further states that if this is the way nobles fight, then it is disgusting. Elsid asks if this upsets him, and our protagonist states that it does, and that things should never happen this way. The injustice of the caste system deeply infuriates Leon, who then enters the battlefield with his fists clenched tightly. He would make that poor excuse of a noble rue the day he ever messed with him. Lion appears to be as cheerful as ever as he mentions that the boy is late, and Armik replies with determination that you're just early. Shots fired, but we are all rooting for you, MC. He starts looking around for any sign of Chloe, but Lion then reveals that their single observer is watching them from a faraway corner so as not to distract either of them. This guy truly is a master of the mind games and goes even one step further by taking a mysterious pill which he says would suppress his aura so that their fight would be equal. A man with a shorter temper would probably have knocked his teeth right in, but our hero simply composes himself. Both of the combatants are handed their swords. Lion, who was really cocky a moment before, suddenly becomes the image of concentration, and not to be outdone, our hero does the same. At Helmut's signal, the battle begins and Lion immediately unleashes a blizzard of lightning strikes that catch Leon off guard. Although he manages to block all of them, he quickly realizes that if he continues to remain on the defensive, their battle would prove to be short-lived and he would suffer defeat. Attack after attack is faced by our protagonist, and the clear difference in skill in comparison to Elmont is evident. Not only does Lion's sword feel like a whip waiting to make contact, but Leon has already been forced to use Roderick's vision. Even with this ability, his opponent's moves are difficult to predict simply because he is moving way too fast. Leon then attempts to compose himself as panicking would leave him in even deeper trouble. One advantage that he has is that he has faced Lion multiple times before, so any moves that Roderick's vision is unable to pick up, he would be able to use his experience to predict the attack. This strategy appears to work as our hero begins to slowly crawl his way back into the battle. Sir Gilbert, who is present in the battleground, is shocked at this display of skill and swordsmanship. The fact that two 17-year-olds are sparring at such a high level without the use of aura makes this duel even more miraculous. He had already been aware of Lion's potential, but seeing his opponent give him such a tough time has definitely surprised the official. Our protagonist comments that Lion is truly a monster with a sword, whilst other Lion smiles, wondering since when did Armik become so skilled. Lion finally thinks he has the advantage as he attempts to confuse Leon by using a double feint. However, our protagonist manages to read the coming strike and counter. The brief exchange leaves a wound on our protagonist's breastplate and the loss of some hair near the face of his opponent. This leaves Lion in shock. Lion takes the rest bit after the exchange, wondering why he is suddenly out of breath. He realizes that the protagonist's plan was to make this a stamina battle from the very beginning. With the look on his opponent's face, Leon realizes that his master plan may have been discovered, but he will still have to wait for the right time to take the offensive. Such an intense battle is bound to have depleted the stamina of both fighters. Lion seems to be the worst off due to his initial onslaught of attacks which bore no fruit other than tiring him out. Clearly, both of these swordsmen are an equal match, and even the slightest mistake could tip the balance in the other's favor. Having never faced an opponent that has given him such a tough time, Lion is rapidly running out of ideas, and as he analyzes Leon, He realizes that his best strategy for victory should be to break his opponent's determination. Lion knows that if he believes that he has a chance, he will not give up. He also knows that if he intends to make Leon his knight, he must get him to submit here and now. The nobleman then decides to go all in and activate his ability known as instantaneous body technique. A form of martial arts, this technique would grant him a huge boost in all his attributes, and even without the use of aura, he would practically become a superhuman. Let us hope the Avengers don't read this, or Iron Man might recruit our antagonist to fight in the next Civil War. Lion charges at the speed of light towards Leon, who does not even have time to move his sword to defend himself. He finally manages to draw first blood as his sword pierces Leon's arm, leaving behind a horrible gash. As Leon clutches his wound and wonders if that crazy fast attack had any hidden aura, Elcid suddenly shows up out of the blue to inform him that it indeed did not hold any aura. He explains that different techniques grant the user upgrades in their abilities even without the use of aura, so it is no surprise that an experienced swordsman would have this trick up his sleeve. He further explains that although the flashing steps technique boosts speed, it also increases the user's strength and endurance and will help his opponent hold stamina. He disappears, giving Leon a tip to not judge what can be done by his common senses. When Elcid leaves, Lion returns into the fray with a sneak attack on our protagonist in anger, stating that how dare he be distracted during their fight. Leon only barely manages to block the strike, retreating a few steps back. Internally, he states with frustration that Elcid appearing so suddenly ruined his flow. But then he remembers the last bit of advice he received from him when he said, "Don't judge what can be done by his common senses." With this, he focuses himself for what is to come next. It was such a drastic shift that even Sir Gilbert noticed that the atmosphere has changed around our protagonist. Leon connects Elcid's words from earlier, realizing that although he previously wanted to protect his stamina advantage by tiring out his opponent, his trump card Excel might not be enough since he can't control it yet. He sighs with this thought, and in the next breath, he focuses on what's in front of him with the realization that he can win by trusting in the effort and strength he has put in up to this point. Lion comments that this is the first time our boy has seemed like such an insurmountable obstacle to him. He smiles at this, realizing that this is just how our protagonist is, and gears up his instantaneous body technique, once again looking to put this fight to bed once and for all. Seeing this, our protagonists, for the first time across their numerous battles against each other, doesn't panic when Lion rushes at him, and with a clear mind, meets his opponent's blade with his own. As the two swords strike instantaneously, a deafening thunderclap is heard and a bolt of lightning quickly follows. As the dust settles, the clear image of Lion staring in disbelief at his shattered sword is visible. Leon realizes that his previous fight with Elmont and his infinite training sessions, which ended with a broken sword, have truly paid off, as he has learned not to exert too much force that would destroy the weapon. Despite his natural talent, Lion has evidently not learned the same, which is why he has suffered his very first defeat. Pointing his blade at his arch-rival, Leon cannot help but break into a toothy smile as he announces the obvious. He has won. Even Sir Gilbert cannot help but commend the boy for his outstanding display. Elcid suddenly appears and reminds the boy that if he had lost, he would have become Lion's vassal. However, his reward for victory is still yet to be decided. Let's hope that this does not take a dark turn and he makes Lion wear a maid outfit or something kinky like that. Lion's condition for Leon's reward had been that it could be anything as long as it did not besmirch his or his family's reputation. Back when he had challenged the boy, he was extremely cocky and self-confident that their duel would be a walk in the park for him. So he went as far as to even offer elixirs and special techniques on the slim chance that he was defeated. Lion is keeping his gaze fixed strictly to the ground as he asks Leon what his reward would be. To everyone's surprise, our hero actually smiles and states that he does not have anything in mind right now, and he would inform him later instead. There go our hopes for the maid outfit. As he exits the battle arena, Leon cannot help but grimace in pain. Although he had not harnessed his ability of Excel, the pure intensity of the fight had truly pushed him to his limits. Dr. Chloe to the rescue as she immediately shows up and begins using her healing powers. Since she has acquired rank 4 healing magic, his injuries miraculously disappear in a matter of seconds, and the boy reveals that he already feels a whole lot lighter. However, Chloe is anything but delighted. She screams at him for accepting Lion's challenge and that it is a miracle that the only consequences of it were a few minor injuries. Her sudden outburst shocks Leon, who is at a loss for words. She suddenly changes up, though, and appreciates the boy's victory and how he has truly gained a whole new level. We all love a bipolar girl, don't we, guys? Even Leon is taken aback at this switch in her moods and loudly wonders if she would have stopped him from fighting his arch-nemesis. Chloe scoffs at the very idea and recalls a time when the boy was very young and his determination to wrestle with a boar for 10 hours proved to be worth it, as he was admired by the entire village. Even then he would not listen to her, so why would his stubborn ass change now? This lightens the mood as they both share a laugh. Feeling much better, Leon gets up and announces that the girl should tend to his namesake as well. Although he may not show it, the defeat is a source of embarrassment for him, so a visit from his crush just may lighten his emotions. Chloe cannot help but ask the boy if he would be leaving the academy, to which he replies in the affirmative. She then sends a private prayer his way, which is truly a heartwarming gesture. As he walks down the hallway, Leon shares his thoughts with the ever-present Elsier. All his life he had a dream of proving his worth and showing his talent to the world, and time again he was outclassed by Leon and Chloe. Despite their cheerful attitude, he had begun to envy them, and this created a distance in their friendship. However, ever since the Holy Sword came into his life, everything has turned upside down. His self-confidence skyrocketed, his abilities received a significant upgrade, and everybody at the school has begun to look up to him. Defeating Leon is just the beginning. This is only a stepping stone to his journey to becoming a hero. He further states that at this point there is nobody as special as him. Elsier hears this and comments that he sure is a materialistic person. Leon asks if this disappoints the spirit, and Elsids poses the question, what is wrong with wanting riches and fame? Ambitions are a core part of human life, and having dreams will move them forward. He smiles as the boy's ambition fills the spirit with pride, and he discloses a secret. The initial plan was that the Holy Sword was to be given to Leon, who belongs to royal ancestry, and this was decided 150 years ago to root out the corruption in the empire. This shocks our protagonist, and he asks if this is what he meant by a test earlier. Elsier responds saying exactly right. There's no rule that says the hero must be chosen by people other than himself. Leon smiles at this. Elsier further asks if he is feeling guilty that he took the opportunity from Leon. He responds with an of course not. It's his own fault for losing to someone like me despite having everything he needs. He has a point with that one. Bro was born rich with a 150-year-old prophecy and still lost. I don't know about him, but I would have to crash out if that happened to me, lol. Getting back to the story, this new information motivates Leon even further, and he drops out of the academy the very next day to pursue of becoming an adventurer. His time at the school had done wonders for all the students, who had begun to train twice as hard in an attempt to follow his example. Accompanied by his trusty spirit, our hero then begins his journey to the Free City, Blaine, which is known for its population of adventurers. This is where our story ends for now. I am going to work on part 3 after this one very soon, but I will also plan to start a new story that I would like to share with all of you, so like and subscribe to be notified when it drops, and see you then.